Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. If you're listening on Spotify, you can support the podcast through listener support. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/Animal Stories for Kids. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was an Argentine horned frog named Giovanni. Giovanni the Argentine horned frog lived in the middle of the swamplands. Giovanni was a peculiar frog, and he was known for his huge appetite and his determination to find and eat what he wanted. While other frogs were happy with feasting on small bugs, lizards, and other smaller creatures, Giovanni was always in the search for something more. One sunny afternoon, after eating his regular meal of crickets and beetles, Giovanni the Argentine horned frog found himself wandering near a towering mushroom that had sprouted overnight. Giovanni's eyes bulged out of his head as he stared at the colossal mushroom before him. "I must be dreaming," said Giovanni the Argentine horned frog. "How am I so fortunate to have a moment like this?" Giovanni's mouth was watering as he studied the giant mushroom and was planning on how to fit it in his mouth in one huge gulp. But this was a huge mushroom. The mushroom's cap alone was as large as his head, and the smell floated in the air to Giovanni. He could almost taste the earthy goodness on his tongue. Giovanni the Argentine horned frog looked around for any other animals. It was just him and the huge mushroom. He got closer to the mushroom and said, "This shall be the biggest thing I have ever eaten." And with a deep breath, Giovanni gathered his strength and lunged forward, jaws wide open, his mouth stretched to its limits, as he attempted to engulf the entire mushroom in a single bite. But even with all his determination, the mushroom was just way too large. "Why can't I get this mushroom in my mouth?" said Giovanni with the big mushroom in his mouth. He jumped off the mushroom. With a frustrated sigh, Giovanni was forced to settle for biting off half the cap. He loved the flavor as he chewed, but it wasn't the one huge gulp that he was looking for. Unsatisfied with what just happened, along with his huge appetite, Giovanni the Argentine horned frog continued on to find something big to eat in one huge gulp. And as he went deeper into the swamplands, Giovanni came across many different creatures. Each one was tempting and looked good to eat for Giovanni. He saw a plump caterpillar, and that could be big enough. But he's seen bigger animals that he could fit in his mouth. So he moved on. Then he came across a lizard. He thought about eating a lizard, but it was just too fast and wasn't worth the time and energy it would take to catch one. So Giovanni the Argentine horned frog went on. Finally, as the day was coming to an end in the swamplands, Giovanni stumbled upon a creature that made his heart pound with excitement. It was a giant turtle. "Oh my! How am I so fortunate to have another moment like this?" Giovanni the Argentine horned frog said. "I really must be dreaming today." Giovanni was too hungry to even think right. You could even say his eyes were bigger than his stomach at this moment. And even with the turtle's large size, Giovanni was determined to eat it. His hunger had blinded him to the dangers of trying to eat a turtle so large. So Giovanni the Argentine horned frog positioned himself at a good distance where he could lunge at the turtle, and then he waited. And as the turtle's head turned away, with a high-pitched growl, He lunged forward, clamping his mouth on the turtle's shell. The turtle was startled by the sudden attack, and so it began to thrash wildly, shaking Giovanni from side to side. Giovanni, the Argentine horned frog, held on tight, determined to eat the turtle. As he tried to bite the turtle's shell, he quickly realized that this was far more difficult than he had anticipated. And with each attempt to bite harder on the turtle's shell, Giovanni's jaws got more tired. The turtle's shell was much more tougher than he had imagined, and all his hard work seemed to get him nowhere. As the minutes went by, Giovanni started to have second thoughts about eating the turtle in one huge gulp. Said Giovanni the Argentine horned frog, with his mouth still on the turtle's shell. Maybe I'm fighting off more than I can chew. Suddenly, the turtle let out a loud hiss, causing Giovanni to lose his grip as he tumbled backwards, away from the turtle. He landed with a thud on the ground. The turtle saw that Giovanni the Argentine horned frog was on the ground and went to bite him, and it snapped its jaws shut, but just missed Giovanni's head. Giovanni the Argentine horned frog scrambled to his feet. He knew that he had been lucky to escape the turtle's bite, and the turtle looked at Giovanni and said, "Get away from me, little frog, or next time I won't miss. It's time to get a sunbath. Toodaloo." And the turtle turned around and walked away from Giovanni. As Giovanni the Argentine horned frog watched the turtle slowly walk away, he realized that his search for eating a big animal in one huge gulp was foolish. And as Giovanni made his way back home, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He couldn't go through with his plan to eat something in one gulp. And now, he was as hungry as ever. So he decided to go look for something else to eat. As he hopped along, he spotted a group of other frogs gathered around a small pond. They were all feasting on a swarm of tiny insects that had been attracted to the water. Giovanni the Argentine horned frog watched them for a moment, feeling a little out of place. He kind of wished he could join them in enjoying the food together, but he knew that he would never be satisfied to eat such small insects. Just then, one of the frogs looked up and saw Giovanni. "Well, hey, Giovanni," the frog said. "What's wrong? You look down." Giovanni sighed. "I'm just so hungry," he said. "I've been trying to find something big to eat, but I haven't been able to." The other frogs laughed. "Well, you've come to the right place," one of them said. "We've got plenty of food to go around." Giovanni the Argentine horned frog was hesitant at first, but he was also very hungry. So he decided to join the other frogs in their feast. And as he began to eat, he realized that the tiny insects were actually quite delicious. They were crunchy and flavorful, and they filled him up surprisingly quick. By the time he was finished, Giovanni was no longer hungry. He was also feeling a lot better about himself. He had learned that sometimes the best things in life are the ones that you least expect. And as he hopped away from the pond, Giovanni couldn't help but smile. He had been so focused on finding something big to eat that he overlooked the simple pleasures of a good meal. And as he thought about his encounter with a giant turtle, he couldn't help but laugh at himself. He had been so determined to eat something huge and in one gulp that he had almost gotten himself eaten. And from that day forward, Giovanni learned to appreciate the smaller things in life. He no longer looked for a huge meal, but instead, he learned to enjoy the unnoticed delights of his everyday life, even in the small things. And though he never forgot his encounter with the giant turtle, he did come to understand that sometimes the best things in life are not always the biggest. In fact, sometimes the best things in life are the ones that are just the right size. And the Argentine horned frog lived happily ever after. The end. The Argentine horned frog is also known as the Argentine wide-mouthed frog, ornate horned frog, or horned toad, or the Pac-Man frog, and it's the most common species of horned frogs. The nickname Pac-Man frog is in reference to the Pac-Man arcade video game and its similarities to a mouth that takes up most of its body. Argentine horned frogs are from South America, and many are kept as exotic pets. Horned frogs are named because of their folds of skin that go over their eyes that make them look like horns. And these horns help these frogs hide since they look just like anything else in the forest floor. Argentine horned frogs are round and have squat bodies, and their jaws are as wide as their heads. They have short legs, which are different from other types of frogs, so they don't jump very well. Males can grow around 4.5 inches, while females grow up to 6.5 inches long, and they can weigh up to a pound. They have yellow or white underbellies, and their back and limbs can have a range of many colors from green, yellow, red, and even brown. The Argentine horned frog makes a high-pitched croak or growl when they're in distress or for protection. They also make noises when it's mating season. The Argentine horned frog ambush their prey. They wait patiently, utilizing their camouflage, and when something goes by that they want to eat, they lunge and grab it with its strong jaws and teeth. If they feel threatened, they will attack whatever is frightening them, even if the animal is much bigger than them. The Argentine horned frog live in muddy forest floors or anywhere that has damp soil, like wet grasslands, tropical rainforests, and swampy areas. Argentine horned frogs are carnivores and aren't really picky about what kind of animal they eat. The Argentine horned frog eats mice, insects, amphibians, lizards, and even other frogs. Their predators are snakes, bears, and birds. The Argentine horned frogs have also been known to suffocate themselves trying to eat something that's bigger than them. They have a large mouth and a super sticky tongue that can hold on to their meal and retract it back into their mouths. Have you seen a real-life Argentine horned frog before? If you have, where did you see it? If you want to write to us, ask your parent to email us at animalstoriesforkids@gmail.com and tell us what you think of our stories. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. If you're listening on Spotify, you can support the podcast through listener support. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/animalstoriesforkids. Until next time, bye!